Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Flavor of the Week, brought to you by Cap and Cork Beer, Wine, and Spirits, with 15 locations in Fort Wayne and New Haven. In good spirits, in good company. In Flavor of the Week, Kyle sits down with one of our local priests over 4 different episodes to sample variations of a favorite food or drink while they discuss the ins and outs of life as a priest.
This is Kyle Hyman. Welcome to Flavor of the Week, Part 2, here with Father Patrick Mary Brisco, Dominican, the Order of Preachers. We're trying some drinks to warm you up. It was kind of the theme, but also a little bit of a Kentucky.
A little bit of a Kentucky thing.
Connection. What's the connection to the Kentucky?
Well, when the Dominicans first came to the United States, our founder, Bishop Fenwick, wanted to start a school in Washington, D.C., a men's preparatory college. You might be familiar with an institute run by another religious order whose name I will not mention, that is in the neighborhood, in the Georgetown neighborhood in Washington, D.C. So that place had already been established.
Okay.
So we had to take a hike. We had to go across the mountains out to Kentucky, where there were actually a number of Catholics settling. So we got to this little place, St. Rose, in Springfield, Kentucky.
Okay.
And it was the church that we built there was the first stone church built west of the Alleghenies. So that we're talking like 1805. This is when Catholic life was really just beginning in this country. Bishop Fenwick, the founder of the Dominicans in the United States, and then the first bishop of Cincinnati, traveled on horseback. He was a lively missionary, just giving everything and anything to the early church in the Midwest. He actually kind of had this crazy plan that all of Ohio would be served only by Dominicans. That his diocese would be a Dominican diocese, and they wouldn't be any secular clergy there, which was kind of wild. Yeah, that didn't pan out. The powers that be in Rome did not think that was a great idea. So, but the beautiful thing is that in Ohio and in Kentucky, especially, you see a lot of influence of the order, including churches that we founded that we still have care of, like St. Rose in Springfield.
Okay. Well, which drink would you like to start with here? I don't even know if these are all from Kentucky then.
Actually, let's slip across over to Tennessee after all that talk about all
Okay.
that talk about Kentucky.
Okay.
Let's go for some Tennessee Whisky from good old Jack, our friend Mr. Daniels. He'll take care of us.
All right. Heather over at Cap and Cork picked these out for us. We appreciate them for providing the libation. Is that the word?
Libations?
Libation.
There we go.
I'm combining with
libations, yeah.
Bebidas, like Spanish.
Bibo Bibere. That's some nice Latin, though.
We also have some snacks if you need to cleanse your palate in between here.
Oh, my. Well,
some.
Do I have to hold my pinky up if I...
yeah.
Very high.
Okay, so this is Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey.
Nice and clear.
Now we're getting a little bit more of the bite from
Yes.
the hot toddy.
Oh, absolutely.
Last week was a little bit more calm.
Yep. Very, very peaceful. That was an easy down drink.
That one warmed you up because you were supposed to warm up the hot toddy. This one warms you up a little bit.
That's right, definitely from the inside.
All right. Well, it is so fun to follow you on social media. You are all over the place, literally all over the globe. And every once in a while, I'll just see you, and it's almost like a Where's Waldo. I'm just looking through some news article and be like, wait a minute, is that Father Patrick Mary Brisco in that picture? The first time it happened for me was with the Pope, and you were the Pope's microphone stand. I don't know if the Pope says like no microphone stands, I need to have a person, preferably a Dominican, holding my microphone for me, or what the deal was. And then the other thing was recently the Sikh conference. You'd posted this picture of you carrying a human heart down the hall. A heart of a saint.
Beautiful.
Literally.
That's right.
Both of just such amazing things. So where do you want to start with kind of exploring some of your travels, adventures, and the excitement that is the life of Father Patrick Mary Brisco?
Right. Well, one of the things that I would just love to say is that when you sign up for life in an international religious order like the Dominican Friars, you just don't know where you're going. I feel like our vocations brochure should be join the Dominicans, see the world. You just do not know where you'll end up. Many of my classmates have had the same experiences, joining mission trips all over the world.
Sure.
And we just, because we're itinerants, naturally Dominicans, we have a propensity for popping up in unlikely places. The first time this happened to me was when I was in the studium, and one of my classmates, the studium being our word for seminary, a house of studies, the studium. When I was in the studium with my classmate, Now, Father Jacob Bertrand Jancic, the vocation director in my province, if you're listening and want to pursue your Dominican vocation, contact him.
Okay.
So Father Jacob comes to me, then Brother Jacob, and says, I think I want to go to Kenya. Would you consider doing this with me for a summer as a student brother? So like seminarians in the diocese, we get our summer assignments. But for us, they end up kind of all over our geographic province. So anywhere from Maine to Virginia and as far west as Ohio and Kentucky.
But within the United States.
Generally, yeah. Unless your classmate comes to you and says, I want to go to Kenya. So Kenya is part of our mission vicariate.
Okay.
Every Dominican province throughout the world sponsors a mission territory. And this is how the order grows, by sending some of its members and providing financial resources to grow the order throughout the world. So Kenya is kind of an interesting place for a mission because it's already very Christian, but not very Dominican yet. The order is young there. We've only been in Kenya for about 20 years.
Okay.
So it was very exciting in that sense, kind of place to be. So we arrive in Kenya, and our work principally, once we jumped through all the necessary hoops, our work principally was to go to an orphanage that Mother Teresa ran with her Missionaries of Charity, and we took care of girls who had severe physical disabilities. Girls who were literally tossed in trash heaps by families who couldn't take care of them, that the Missionaries of Charity had literally found and taken into their orphanage.
Yeah.
So that was just an incredible experience to see what that kind of care looks like in the third world. That was in a slum in Nairobi that we were working with the Missionaries of Charity, and then we spent some time in a little town called Kisumu, which is on the shores of Lake Victoria. And our place there, our Dominican community there, is a novitiate house, which serves the friars not only of our vicariate, but of countries like Mozambique and of other sub-Saharan African countries that don't have the resources to sponsor their own novitiate. They would send their novices to our priory there. So that's a vibrant little community. One funny thing that happened that night, one of the nights that we were up there, I awoke in the middle of the night hearing a loud clanging noise, just like all kinds of pots and pans and a blood-curdling scream.
Oh.
And I thought, this is it. This is how I die. That's it. It's just a ferocious thing. And we actually had a friar who did die in that house because of a break-in. So we knew that, I had in the back of my mind that this is not a safe place. Yeah, like this is real. So I tear down the hall and I go up to Brother Jacob's room. And he meets me on the stairs, and he's got in his hand his shoes and his passport. he's like ready to go, right?
Yeah, I'm out of here.
And so the two of us are making a plan, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to get my passport. Now the only problem was to get out of the priory, we'd have to pass the dogs. So there was like this pack of nearly wolves who were this security pack that would attack anything at night that left the house. But so they were there to protect the grounds, and the only people that could call them off were the guards, who you may or may not run into. So we're like planning in our heads, okay, we need a shovel, we can like beat the dogs, and get to the car, and drive the car through the gate and get out of there. So this is all very dramatic. We're really, really, really scared. And the prior, who is a Kenyan, the prior hears us, and we're eventually able to get him up. Actually, we wake him up, and he comes to his door, and he's sort of laughing at us, and he says, oh, you do not know. And we said, Father Stephen, what are you talking about? He says, well, tonight is like our Halloween. We have to scare the evil spirits back to the lake. It's like, oh my goodness! So it was just a local tradition that we didn't know about, that we thought was that we really thought was going to be the end for us. So that was a huge relief. But man, if you had seen the look on our faces on that staircase as we were plotting our escape from the priory, you would have understood what we were feeling there.
Yeah.
So Kenyan adventures.
So how long were you in Kenya then?
That was about 10 weeks. The stay ended up a little bit longer, because on the day before we were supposed to go, the airport in Nairobi was arsoned.
Wow.
So we're not there was a fire at the airport, but the airport was burned down. So we were out early one morning. We had not done any kind of touristy things during our stay there. Our purpose was mission. But the last day we decided we would take a drive through the wildlife park, which is just to the south of Nairobi. You can see really grand wildlife there. They have giraffe and lions, and it is Africa. So we're there kind of driving around, and we kind of look to the horizon. We notice this huge billowing cloud of smoke kind of in the direction of the airport. And we flip on the BBC, and we hear, coming over the radio, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport is on fire. And we thought, Perfect. Guess we're not going to get on that plane tomorrow.
Yeah.
So after a long period of dealing with British Airways agents who, some of them were very unhelpful, one person actually recommended that we rent a car and drive to South Africa. To the closest airport. Yeah, like a an over 50-hour drive through like 6 blood-torn nations. We would definitely have died. Like that definitely would have been a disaster.
That was the closest airport, though?
Yes, that we were recommended to take out
Okay.
because what had happened when the airport was attacked, everyone thought it was terrorism.
Oh, sure.
So the West just shut down all connecting flights to all of Eastern Africa, and we just could not get out of the region.
Yeah.
So eventually, what we ended up doing was it was 10 or 12 days after we were supposed to fly, we got a flight on Kenya Airways to Johannesburg in South Africa. We had like a 12-hour layover down there. That's a long flight. That's most of sub-Saharan Africa that you're passing over there.
Yeah.
Like we waved to Mount Kilimanjaro, literally, saw the peak through the clouds. Like as we're flying down. We get to Johannesburg, we have this huge layover. Then from Johannesburg to London, that was like a 17 or 18-hour flight. We get to London, we have another delay because there's a mechanical problem. So we're delayed in London for hours. We finally get on a 747 in New York. We get to New York and we find out our flight to DC is canceled. So we have to get in a cab and drive across Long Island to get from one airport to another so that we can get out of JFK a connecting flight down to DCA. It was ridiculous. It was the absolute worst travel experience I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah. Had you done much international traveling before that?
I did. I was blessed to go with the IU Honors Program to France as a college student. So I was, as a high school student with the IU Honors Program, and then I went again as a college student. I was a French major in college. So I felt like I had a pretty good travel experience, but none of that prepares you for what travel is like in Africa.
Yeah.
When you're trying to get out of a region when the airport has burned down.
Yeah.
So that was particularly exciting.
Well, we haven't even gotten into the story of the human papal microphone stand or the priest who carries human hearts that have not decomposed. So we'll have to save that for a future flavor of the week. I think you're a storyteller at heart. You like to tell stories, and I like to listen to stories.
I'll take that politely. That was a compliment, right, Kyle?
Oh, yeah. I love it.
I joined the Order of Preachers. One of my classmates has a sister who is a cloistered Carmelite nun, and my classmate, Father Joachim, is very reserved. And his mother once remarked on this phenomenon. He says, "I've got this girl that can't sit still. She's never quiet at all, and this boy that wants to join the Order of Preachers, and he never says a word." It just shows you what God will do with us.
That's true. You wouldn't think that would be the vocation that God would call somebody to, but the Lord works in mysterious ways, right?
Here we are, members of the Order of Preachers, telling stories.
So how many decades do you give the Tennessee Whiskey?
I mean, that's a solid 3.5, right? Like, it's not extraordinarily flavorful, but it's reliable.
Yeah.
You're not going to be disappointed. It's not sweet. I have a sweet tooth, Kyle.
Right. Okay. Well, I think the other ones might be the sweet, the intense butterscotch of Dr. McGillicuddy's or the Appalachian Apple Pie Moonshine from Sugarland Shine. So we'll try those out in future episodes of Flavor of the Week, brought to you by Captain Cork. We'll learn more about Father Patrick Mary Brisco.